Welcome in to Come Get Some. I'm your host, Blake Williams, here with Mr. Come Get Some himself, Gregg Williams. And I know it's not the most fun day here in Cleveland for Cleveland sports fans, and we'll get into that and talk a little bit more about that this week on our show. But across the NFL, a lot of great storylines and a lot of amazing things happen. We've got a great show in line for you today. We're going to be joined by our first inaugural Come Get Some Bat Award winner, who played a come get some style of game. Pro Bowl linebacker for the Detroit Lions, Anzalone, is going to be joining us virtually from Detroit today, and we're going to have a great in-studio guest. Cleveland legend Chuck Booms is going to be joining us to talk about Cleveland Browns, around the NFL, around the sports world, and everything in between. But hey, G-Dub, you know, as we always talk about, it's not, hey, G-Dub would always talk about this. He still to this day gets on people about this. It's not called a turnover.
I don't want to hear turnover.
It's called a takeaway. Like on defense, it's a takeaway. They didn't turn the ball over. They didn't make a mistake. We took that son of a gun away.
Yeah.
You know, with a little bit different words.
And
That's
I didn't
not
say
Bally's,
gun. I didn't
Bally's
say gun.
rated.
I know.
But G-Dub, what were your three takeaways? G-Dub's three top takeaways from the NFL weekend number one.
Number one, and I know we're going to cover it later on, is it how long that the Cleveland Browns held onto the ball in any kind of a passing game. I can't believe that Deshaun and whatever, and I don't want to hear about the offensive line, all that kind of happy horse manure, is that I want to hear, okay, and I change it to manure, okay, is that, get the ball out of your hands, okay? And the second thing is, I love the fact that the best quarterback performance in the National Football League was by a guy I said a lot of great things about as one of my most favorite players I had a chance to coach was Baker Mayfield. What a great performance he had. And the last one was, I just shake my head right now, about the Giants, about what's going on up there, and how they're, struggling, to make a first down, struggling to put points on the board. And I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about that.
So you heard it here from an ex-quarterback turned defensive coordinator, but he's up here talking about three quarterbacks for his three takeaways, and we know you love attacking quarterbacks. But hey, stick right with us, because when we get back, we're going to be joined by Anzalone of the Detroit Lions. Welcome back into Come Get Some. I'm your host, Blake Williams, here with Mr. Come Get Some himself, Gregg Williams, and we are joined by a man, a friend of ours, a guy we've known since he was coming into the league, who definitely played a Come Get Some game on a big stage himself, and his whole team played a Come Get Some Impose Your Will game. If you guys saw on Sunday Night Football, Alex Anzalone, the great linebacker for the Detroit Lions, a.k.a. Goldilocks.
Yeah, Goldilocks. It's great to see you. My goodness, I can't tell you how proud I am every time I see you play. And I don't know if maybe I can get an endorsement on what kind of a hairband you got to wear or whatever it is. Make sure nobody pulls your hair when you're playing the game.
No, I let it flow on game day. I just let it loose and let it fly.
Yeah,
appreciate you joining us, my man. Hey, before let's actually, before we talk the game last night and everything, let's give the viewers a little bit of backstory on that. And so, Goldilocks, tell us, Alex, about, the first of all, your first reaction coming straight out of college, 2017, coming to the Senior Bowl in Mobile, and then I'm your position coach. We had just got here to the Browns. Literally, we got the job at the Browns, and they told us to, bring a jump bag, essentially, because they're like, yeah, you're not even interviewing. We got to hop straight on a plane and fly to Mobile because we're coaching in the Senior Bowl. And so, what was your first reaction to crazy guy over here coaching it down at the Senior Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, two memories come up in my mind. I remember the first one being, you're the Senior Bowl. It's kind of like a combine feel. You're just going to go do one-on-ones and little team periods, and it's not ultra competitive, but at the same time, you're trying to put your best foot forward. And I just remember Gregg just saying in a defensive meeting, this could be the most physical Senior Bowl in history. We were check whoop ass and all his sayings. And those things stick with you. And I remember one of the classics was if they run, I guess there were certain like rules or like understandings that they can't run certain plays, and if they do, we're gonna check Chucky on their ass. And those are the things that kind of gets. And I heard some of it from being in New Orleans with Da, so there was some carryover too.
No doubt, no doubt. I mean, it was awesome, and I remember like I used to, because I was your position coach that week, and I loved it, because like we liked you, a lot coming in, and so Gina was like, "Hey, what do you think about him after like the first meeting? I'm gonna test him a little bit." And so he came in that first meeting, and he looked right at you, and he was like, "Hey, the linebackers are gonna be making the checks, like making all these calls and stuff like that." And he was like, "Is that all right with you? Like, Goldilocks?" And I remember back, he gave the same treatment. This was probably, I'm dating myself, like 8 years prior or whatever, but he did it to Clay Matthews. The third coming out as well too. But he's like, "Is that good for you, Goldilocks," or whatever? And like you kind of gave him that like smirk, like I remember like from Sunshine from the movie. Remember the Titans? Like, "All right, Goldilocks, I can dig it," whatever. Like, "Oh, cool." But man, talk to us about that game last night, my man. And so like, what was it? What were you feeling? What were you going through? I know that's a team that you've played in some high stakes, big time primetime games a bunch. I think that's the third time in just like the last season, and plus and change, that you guys have played them up there. But what was it like last night?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the environment was really, really great. We have some really great fans, and they're all about those big games, especially when a game like that with the backstory to all the Jared getting traded, with Stafford coming in, and all those things. But yeah, it was cool. It was cool. I think that from a defensive, mindset, I know that they had success when they had success last year, it was running the football, and we knew that we were gonna have to, demonstrate our physical ability and see how really tough they wanted to be. And I think that on that first play definitely set the tone of the game.
You bet it did.
Yeah, and and I think that just continued out, going into the game. But at the same time, playing against a great quarterback, one of the best, that, if you keep it that close, it's, he's going to stick around and come back. And, I think that we did some good things on defensively, but at the same time, we had a lot to clean up today too.
Yeah, but you know what? I've seen a lot of change just from last year to this opening game right now is that I think your secondary really has improved, and you guys have done a good job there with, going out and improving it ability-wise and everything. And now, because the secondary is improved, people are going to attempt to run the ball against you more. And when you guys play as physical and as downhill as you're doing the way you're doing right now, it's going to be tough to play against you guys, especially at home, with the home field advantage on how loud the crowd is, and they can't check, they can't communicate on offense, and all those advantages go to you.
100%. Yeah, I completely agree. It's definitely, playing defense in that stadium is really good, but, playing one of the greats, Stafford's always going to want to hold the pencil last. And, he was able to get in us, and, they motion and shift a lot and figure out what we're in. And, he's a quarterback that can handle all that. So that's what makes playing him so hard.
Yep. And you talk about what they're doing, right? And the offense doing, and I know you come from ultimately like at his tree of defense, right? You know what I mean? Yeah, I still go back to, and Andrew Berry and these guys here at the Browns will attest to this. Like, I mean, I stood on the table, pounded. I was like, I wanted to draft you back in 2017. And it was funny, we still had Demario Davis at the time as well too. And I was like, look, like this dude's going to have a phenomenal career, long career in the NFL, all the makeup athletically, but then even more so like mentally, physically, all that stuff. And then you end up getting drafted to New Orleans, and I'm like, see, DA seeing the same, Sean Payton seeing the same thing. Yeah. And then we trade Double D away, and 1 year later he's down there with you guys, and I'm like, good Lord. I was like, gosh. You do know they're running the same, they're looking for the same players, and then you guys went up there to Detroit. But I know the type of defense you guys play in, but you talked about Stafford and all all the things that he's seeing and doing and whatnot. But you, I mean, 13 tackles, 3 TFLs, like
Big
downhill. I mean, playing fast. What were you, without giving too much away, so to say, like, what were you feeling and what were you seeing last night? Which that's one thing for him to motion shift and declare the defense and declare the bogey and the disguise and know what you were in. But you're seeing, say, bird rabbit or the width of the running back on free release chow and those type of things. Like, what were you seeing last night that you were clearly anticipating, able to jump so many plays you yourself?
Yeah, I knew. Well, they were on their third or fourth tackle.
Yep.
You know, I think it's Havenstein or something like that was ruled out before the game, and we knew that he was gonna have to get the ball out quick, and you know he can dink and dunk all game, and you know that really allowed me to jump some routes and kind of like, you know, later in the down get a little matchier to my coverage as opposed to, you know, getting in a true drop back vision zone. So, you know, I was able to play aggressive, and kind of when I get into a fast start, I kind of get in my zone and, you know, start making plays and, you know, not playing in the preseason game and any preseason games. And, you know, I was making really good tackles too. So, you know, I'm really proud of myself for that just because, you know, it's hard unless you do it a ton in, you know, in a real game setting.
Well, you played very well, and I want to make sure you understand before we break too is that I actually said some good things about you too about trying to draft. It wasn't just Blake, and I did say some good things.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I know.
If it was just Blake, I needed Greg too.
Just make sure you know that.
It was. We couldn't be greedy though. Like they gave us, we had 2 defensive. We had Myles Garrett and Jabril Peppers. They drafted in the first round, and they were like, well, and you already, and like at the time they were sitting there thinking like, dude, you already have J.B. Collins and Christian Kirksey and Demario Davis and Joe Schobert. We didn't know they were going to trade Demario Davis away, but they're like, hey, like can't be greedy. We got holes to fill on this team. They're like, they actually to a man, like they agreed as well too. They're like, yeah, we see it as well too. They're like, we think he's going to be dominant. That's just not that's a luxury position on this team right now. But how about this? Talk about this. And we talk so much about come get some and that mentality and impose your will, right? And I know everything that your coaches preach, right? I know so many players. Again, I talk about this kind of tree that to a degree started in 2009, our Super Bowl year in New Orleans when we all got together, right? Sean Payton is the head coach. Sean Payton makes the decision to bring in Mr. Come Get Some and bring that attitude to the Saints. DA Dennis Allen is the DB coach. I was assistant offensive line coach, and that was Coach Dan Campbell's final year playing in the NFL. Yeah. He was playing, you know, tight end for us, and was about that. But what's that feeling like when? What's that feeling when you go? Oh yeah, Mark Brunell, you know, as well too, is, you know, Drew's backup, and so many of the guys, you know, up there, and what was the feeling like? You guys win the or get the ball in overtime last night and get 22 personnel and say, come get some. So what's that like watching it on the side on defense where you're just like, no, smash mouth, impose your will? A lot of teams nowadays go 2-minute offense in overtime, and Dan Campbell in the offense saying, nope, come get some of this, and we're going to run it right down your throat, and you're not going to get the ball.
Yeah. I mean, I love it. I think that just, you know, kind of tells you everything we're about in Detroit and what Dan's about. But, you know, to be honest, we played like 78 defensive snaps, and I was not trying to go back out there in overtime. I was tired.
He's like, it's week 1, and there's 17 games now. When you started, there were 16 games. That's how long you've been playing.
It's your first game playing. Welcome. Yeah, here we go.
Right. Yeah. And I honestly wanted us to go for it that last drive in before the overtime. And that last, I thought we should have gone for it for the touchdown there, because I was like, I do not want to play in overtime.
That's normally in Dan's wheelhouse, but he saved it for overtime and said, no, it's time to go smash mouth. Like no Moss football.
I love it. Yeah, it's fun to watch our offense work, and especially, you know, see a running back like David just go to work on, you know, seeing him run through tackles, through their linebackers, through their DBs. It's fun. It's fun for me because we go live in training camp a decent amount, and I got tired of tackling David or trying to tackle David in practice, and seeing other people try to do it. It was fun.
Man, I'm so excited for you guys this year. I'm pulling for you guys. We're right down I-90 from you, and I know it's just 1 week, right? We can't get ahead of ourselves, but I watched last night. I watched you guys at the end of the last year as well too, but I watched last night, and last night just reminded me of 2009 Saints. Like it just looked like,
really
yes,
did.
the scheme is pretty much the same, but the mentality, like the 09 Saints was nobody was expecting anything from them. Brought in, G-Dub, brought in me over. I'm on the way over the offensive side. And it was like two big things. Sean Payton, that year, he was like, look, man, we're going to play stellar defense. We know Drew's going to do Drew stuff and whatever. He's like, but I want also, like, up until that point, it had been exclusively, if they were in too high, 7-man box, like they would throw the ball. But any run, every single run, as soon as you brought a safety down, they would, kill to a pass. So teams would know that, hey, they know run pass. And he was like, no, I want some impose your will. Does not matter 8-9-man box. It doesn't matter. It's like, I want you guys as an offensive staff to install these sort of runs that I can call it. And that year, there were so many games that we did exactly that. Like the runs, the actual schemes that you guys were running, the offense was running last night, where we would have the lead in 4 minute or in overtime, and we were getting 22 personnel, 2 tight ends, 2 backs, and we would just, even if Drew had 400 yards on the day, and we would just run the ball, just run the last 4 minutes of the clock out, and almost shock teams, holy cow, now they're just smash mouth, and it just looked like that feeling, man. And so I'm excited for you guys. I got a question for you. Does Dan and those guys, do they still do bat games up there in Detroit?
No, we don't. Not in Detroit. We did that a ton in New Orleans.
Yeah, they still do that.
Yeah, but no, in here in Detroit, AG does. We get all the same. Spiels, the wax, beat him to the ground. Remember me, all of it.
I was 23 years old when I had to make that PowerPoint, by the way, just so you know. And
I think we had a corner blitz last night, and Stafford threw the hot route to Puka, and I just remember, the tight third safety. We were in fire zone, missed the tackle on the hot throw. I just remember chasing him down and just shoving Puka out of bounds, and he went flying. I was like, yep, I just turned the sideline over.
Turn the sideline. There you go. There you go. See, that's legacy right there, G-Dub. Legacy is still living in the NFL. Well, I asked that question because before we send you off, and we'll get this sent to you, my man, but this is a new thing that we started this year, and so we'll get it sent to you, but we're going to have our custom come get some bats. And so across the league, we're looking for every week a player or performance that is most emblematic of what come get some is all about, and that mentality and whatnot. And we were watching it last night, and we were like, dude, this is Goldilocks, man. He's doing it. This is totally it. So we need to get him on tomorrow. So we'll send this over to you. Get it over there to the training facility or Ford Field, man. And congratulations for being the first come get some bat winner, my man. And good luck. And good luck this upcoming week, brother. I appreciate you joining us, my man.
Here, Sarah, hey, and remember here, when you go back to the office and you get ready to go on Wednesday, you tell Dan Campbell and Mark Burnell I said something nice about them too. I don't want them to be scared their whole life.
They won't be. Hey, appreciate you, my man. Hey, stick right with us, because when we get back, we're going to be joined by legendary comedian and Cleveland native Chuck Booms and do some Browns recap. Welcome back into Come Get Some, and this is our Browns recap segment. But we're lucky to be joined, first and foremost, here in studio by a special Cleveland native guest, Chuck Booms. You know him as national comedian from the Improv show. Knows everybody from Jerry Lewis to Seinfeld. All the years, 5 years on the Jerry Lewis telethon. You guys know him here in Cleveland from the Kylie and Boom show. On Fox Sports and 92.3 The Fan. But Chuck Booms, my man, appreciate you joining us, and can't wait to hear, because I know nobody up here is shy, and nobody up here is known for being shy. So I can't wait to get into this Browns debacle of yesterday and hear your opinion. But thank you for joining us, my man.
Oh, guys, thank you. It's a thrill to be here, Coach. Always been a fan. It's I can cross off one of my bucket list things. I'm like, if I ever got to meet Gregg Williams,
Oh my
that'd
gosh,
be
yeah.
great. And Blake, great to meet you today too, and all that. I have some breaking news. I know we're on here and all that. I just told Ken Miles walking in, but Dallas just scored again.
Oh,
I couldn't believe it. I mean, I was like, I mean, and I thought it was.
Oh,
I thought your breaking
Just-
news was that
just-
Deshaun Watson just released his final pass of the day. You know.
Yeah.
He's well on his way, Coach, to releasing his final
Oh.
pass.
Oh, we're gonna have to get into that a little bit. But Chuck, I mean, I know you watched the game yesterday, like
Yeah.
so many, natives. Like, what was your main takeaway, or first, impression, that sticks in your mind from yesterday's game?
So I haven't had the look on my face that I had watching the game since the first 4.5 minutes of the Joe Biden-Donald Trump debate, where all of us as Americans after 4 minutes went, what's going on?
yeah.
Mhm.
That's exactly how I felt watching the Browns from the jump yesterday. My initial takeaway is two things. One, so this is why you got rid of Joe Flacco. Okay, got it. I mean, you wanted to bring out that really polished offense, so you didn't need Joe, right? So that. And also, I said to you guys before the show, what have they been working on since February? You mean you've got all these months and that's the result? What would they do in practice? What did they do at the Greenbrier? I mean, it's absurd. If it wasn't for the New York Giants, it would have been the biggest laughing stock of the. Sorry, Coach.
No, I agree.
It would have been the laughing stock. But I mean, the Giants have it coming. When you draft the guy, two words don't belong in the same sentence: Duke and quarterback. Those don't go in the same sentence. And so,
You're right.
but I mean, seriously, that was, and the fans were so pumped,
Mhm.
right? And it's the national
fans were
TV
big.
game.
Mhm.
They were
Tom
into it.
Brady, the build-up, the
Mhm.
build-up, and then to just crap the bed. And then they get touchy about their booing. What did you think they were going to do? Clap?
Yeah. You know,
Agreed. Go ahead.
I agree. You know, and Miles talked, and I thought Miles like handled that well. And he was honest, like after the game. He's like, I mean, they pay their hard earned money to like come into the game, and like we didn't perform. He's like, they have the right, like when they come in, like we are entertainers. Like Russell Crowe, are you not entertained? You're like, we are entertainers, and they have the right when you buy that ticket to boo if we don't perform right, and to cheer and go raucous like we do, and unfortunately, I think he and I were talking about last night, like pursuant to what you were talking about right there, is it went the way that we feared it was going to go, and thought like it was maybe going to go, just having seen all the preseason and knowing the kind of things behind the scenes and knowing honestly what it's been absent, like frankly, I'm just being honest, like during Kevin Stefanski's time here, and I think he's a phenomenal coach, is healthy Baker, Jacoby Brissett, Joe Flacco. That's when the team has looked different. So his first year with a healthy Baker, when Jacoby Brissett was there, and they were a top 10 offense, and then Joe Flacco, the rest of the time there's been a lot of different people that have played, and it hasn't looked that right. But what was your take, G?
Well, the big thing, I thought Chuck hit a home run. Okay, what have you been doing since February? And I take it personal. I take it personal when effort and toughness is not exuded on everything. Nothing more pisses me off is to see somebody walk off the field. I don't care what kind of a great play the other team did. You are going to run on, you're going to run off, you're going to impose your will. We're going to get after them, okay, the way we're going to get after them. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But it's on me as a coach, on making sure that I'm not going to substitute anything, okay, for effort and toughness. And I'm going to make you stand by me or go up in the crowd and boo yourself.
Well, Blake and Coach, here's what gets me. With Blake, you said the preseason. There was a preseason? When
Yeah.
was that?
Yeah.
Because I didn't see anybody play. and Coach, this is directly to you because I know what kind of a great coach you are and what you demand of your players. Why do the world champion Kansas City Chiefs, back-to-back world champs, why does Mahomes and Kelsey and everybody play in their preseason games, but we're too good? Watson didn't need some work? Are they kidding?
I think you hit a home run because Andy Reid is not going to listen to anybody else. That's how he's grown up. That's how I've grown up. We're almost the same age, and we go back to those years on. You got to prove it every single second of every day if you want to step inside the white lines to play at the top of this profession in the world on a regular season game. You got to prove it, okay? And that's in preseason and, okay, in regular season. And then come playoffs, here they come. Here comes the Chiefs.
But Chuck, you hit the nail on the head right there. And a lot of, like, even just the recently retired players, so I wouldn't even call them OG players, like the recently retired players and players that we coach, like a lot of the talking points have been out there today about that. Like they believe that the number of injuries that they're seeing in week one, not just the rust, but like some of these injuries and some of these, but then some of these other just lack of
finishing,
lack of just, it looks like preseason is because you're not out there playing together with live bullets, and you just know there's no substitute for practice, you know. And so
well, you brought up rust. If I hear rust one more time, when I hear the word rust, I think of Alec Baldwin killing people on a movie set. That's the when I hear rust. But I mean, for God's sakes, what are we doing? How is it, Coach and Blake, how is it that Joe Flacco at 39 can be on the couch for most of the season, come in and look like Y.A. Tittle running around slinging the ball 300 yards here, 300 yards there, 300 yards, and Watson, they're still saying rust. Joe wasn't rusty.
I totally agree, and I told you before we were chatting out here today before coming on the show is that they asked me about Joe. The organization did when they brought him in. I said, bring him in and work him out. I'm telling you right now, he can flat play the game. He can still play the game, and I wish he was still here.
Yeah, no doubt on that. And what I'll piggyback on that and say is, and part of that is because just running the offense the way that it's meant to do. There's a difference between scrambling around because there's a difference between scrambling because you have to, because the offensive line is truly not good, is truly busted. You have pressure or something like that, and then just like not running the offense.
Well, you know what Cleveland fans said last year when Joe came in? Thank God you did that, Coach. Thank you. When Flacco came in, everybody I spoke to said, oh, that's how the offense is supposed to look. Yeah. Here's the play action. Here's this. Here's that. And it's clear that Stefanski came from the Kubiak tree. We know, Coach, that Joe knows Kubiak from the Ravens offense.
No doubt.
He's a Super Bowl champion. Yep. And so it's typical Browns. You get them the right quarterback, they plug it into the right system, and boom, it's on fire. So then what do? They don't bring it back. Why not? They did this to you, which is absurd.
Well,
you were the first one to give us winning football in 3 years or 23 years, and everybody wanted you to come back. The fans did, because we know what winning looks like. And then they go away from winning. I don't get it.
Well, it's probably because I'm not allergic to and not afraid to tell anybody, no, that's not what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. And as we were talking about all this timing thing, Baker Mayfield has played for 3 different consecutive offensive coordinators in the last 3 years, okay? And why is he all of a sudden so good this year with another brand new offensive coordinator? Is because when he and I got face-to-face and nose is you're going to stay on time. You're not going to improvise. The only time you have to improvise is when somebody totally breaks and misses assignment. You stay on time. That's what you do as a quarterback, and I'm very proud of him today.
Well, and you should also be proud of what I told you out there, which is, for real football fans, the most legendary record was set by Baker Mayfield, breaking Peyton Manning's total touchdowns at 27 or 28, whatever that was, a record that we all know they said that can't be broken. Not only did Baker break it, he did it in 3 less games, which makes it even more amazing. And that was from you and your relationship with Baker. I know for a fact in Tampa, he still gives you credit all the time on the. You know how he feels about you, but he always says Coach Williams this, Coach Williams that, and the other thing that people resent. That kid still loves Cleveland. I know you guys stay in touch with him. He still loves this town. He loves the people. He loves the fans. Yeah. And he has the highest QBR from week 1, and our guy had the lowest. That's an insult.
Well, hey, we're gonna go to break right here, but when we get back, we're gonna go around the NFL. We're gonna talk some more Baker Mayfield and some of the other quarterback performances, both good and bad, and some of the other legendary performances from around the week in the NFL. Welcome back into Come Get Some, and this is our Around the NFL segment, and we're joined in studio by Chuck Booms. You got to be careful when you get Chuck Booms, improv master, with Come Get Some, give 0 F's master going, because then we go straight from talking about the Browns to talking about Baker Mayfield, you know. But this is our Around the NFL segment, right? And so we kind of already touched on Baker a little bit.
Did you say I didn't give F's?
You gave all your F's away, I think, on the farm back in Excelsior Springs, Missouri, a long time ago. You know, before I was ever born. But Baker Mayfield, we hit him a little bit already, but had a big day yesterday. Signed that contract that is still grossly underpaid.
Still
grossly underpaid. I mean, you think about it. He signed a $100 million deal for 4 years, and Dak just signed a 4-year, $240 million deal yesterday, and that production, Tampa Bay is going to be dangerous.
Jackson,
yeah,
Lamar Jackson with a huge one. And guess what? I believe, Coach, Baker has more playoff wins now than Lamar Jackson.
How about that?
So,
but hey, we're proud of Bake. Hey, love you, brother. Excited about you, like everything that you're doing down there. Keep it up. You know, want to see you, and your family succeed as much as possible. You deserve it. But good, switching gears, and I know we slightly touched on this earlier as well too. But I know all the talk is here with our quarterback and our offense here in Cleveland. But what about New York? And Danny Dimes, up in New York, and the money they shelled out for him. Did you see that right now, since they paid out that huge contract to Daniel Jones, he has 2 years ago,
yes.
I know he spent a lot of last year injured, but he's thrown more touchdown passes to the other team than to his own team. He's thrown 3 pick-six now versus 2 touchdown passes to his own team, since they signed that. But what are you thinking about on when you watch New York?
I'm thinking he's colorblind because clearly
yesterday's jersey
confused. Well, I don't even know. The first thing I thought of when I saw the jerseys, did that not strike you as a hockey jersey?
I did. I thought hockey. That's the first thing I thought.
I said, I can't believe it.
And the pants?
Rochester Americans are playing.
And you see the pants, the skinny colored pants?
That's right.
I mean, it literally looked like somebody screwed up Garanimals. Remember those when we were kids? You got the parents that had to match the hippo with the hippo, and it's like, I got a hippo and an alligator.
Yeah.
And the people in New York, where you think they're going to go to some type of a merchandise store and buy that stuff?
You would, to make sure no one wore it. You'd buy it in bulk and then burn it. That was, the shame of that. I was thinking of you guys coming in today about that. Coach, they had all the Giants legends there. Come on.
All of them.
You cannot do that.
No.
I mean, wow. It's such a proud franchise. The Mara family must just be beside themselves.
They have to be.
Yeah,
and go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying it's you got similar. I think probably a little bit of similar, dissimilar, but a little bit of similar to like where Cleveland's at right now. Where you say, I think Cleveland's roster is way more stacked than Giants are right now, but where they're sitting there thinking, hey, we're pretty loaded right now, but we feel like we probably could get anybody. I know it's just one game, but we could get literally anybody to off the streets to have that sort of production at the quarterback position, which is so important. And so, hey, we either that guy's got to change his production, or we got to care about the other 52, at some point in time, and
Coach,
change things up.
Nothing
in
gets
both
under
rosters.
your skin more than a team that sleepwalks And when we just said the Giants legends are there and how embarrassing that effort
Has to be.
I told Ken Miles on the way in on the phone, I said, I actually know who the most embarrassed human being in the city of Cleveland is. He goes, well, how do you know that? Who is it? I said, it's the president of Huntington Bank. That guy who just signed 20 years of his life away. He's sitting there going, wait, are you sure that ink's dry? Yeah, that didn't go good. But
No
Coach,
doubt.
if you would, when you see, as Blake brought up, the Browns do that, okay? You see Baker come out and Tampa prepared, but then the Giants do that.
And then with the legends being there, and let's go back. One of the things from effort, toughness, and everything, from me, learning from people, is when Bill Parcells was the head coach who doesn't put up with anything, and Bill Belichick was the defensive coordinator before he came here. He got a chance after how they played defense and how they went ahead at a whole culture is when he came here and replaced Marty Schottenheimer back in the days when he became the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. And now these legends are there watching these guys mealy mouth around and poor little old me. Nah, it's not good.
It was definitely an interesting day from the quarterback standpoint yesterday. We had multiple throws of the season. The pundit saying that's the throw of the season. It's like it's week one's not even over yet.
No.
But we had Matthew Stafford making amazing throws. We had that crazy amazing throw by Anthony Richardson.
That's a big time throw.
We had Will Levis trying to do the dunce throw of the season with that pitch that he had to lose the game.
I thought Will Levis's throw was 𝗟𝗓𝗩𝗘 from the Super Bowl.
Yes.
The kicker from Cyprus who threw the ball backwards, but that's not his biggest claim to fame.
No.
Coach, only you and I are old enough to know this. Garrow's biggest claim to fame, he was a guest star on The Odd Couple, and he kicked a meatloaf out the window.
He did. Kicked the meatballs out the window. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, the Will Levis, would you like to have brought him over and talked to him after that?
I would have had a little bit of chit-chat after I kicked him right in his balls.
Wow.
Well, hey, this sets us up perfectly for our next segment. Hey, we're gonna go to break, but stick right with us. When we get back, we're gonna drop the boom on G-Dub and have Coach Boom ask Coach any rapid fire questions round robin that he has. Welcome back into Come Get Some, and this is going to be a new fun segment that we're going to do right here. We're gonna drop the boom. I don't know that you guys are like viral like TikTok or IG, connoisseurs, but there's this. It's actually really just cheesy and terrible, but there's this like viral father-son that have gone viral where they're just like, we dropped the boom. They're up from New York City. Y'all have seen it and whatnot, but we're going to drop the boom on G-Dub right now. So Booms, rapid fire question, ask Coach, like when you're sitting there, anything that you've seen from the weekend and whatnot, and you're sitting there thinking like, man, what would Coach G-Dub think about this, or what would he do in this situation?
So it's thank you, Blake. And it's Coach, this is back to the Baker Mayfield thing from earlier about what an impression you made on this kid and where he's gone. And he was basically thrown in the fire, the baptism by fire. It's a national TV game. He comes in, the jet, blah, blah, blah. Does it get under your skin when you hear these other national guys come on and go, well, Caleb Williams, it's his first thing, and, you really shouldn't start these kids and just throw. I would think, with your experience with Baker and what other quarterbacks come to mind for you over your great career, where, of course, you put them in and you coach them up.
Right now, nothing more infuriates me to hear people say that have no idea. They never played. They don't do this kind of stuff. They want to make these kind of excuses. And mom and dads right now are doing a lot of that excuse making for their kids overall, okay? No, it's time to play. You're at the top of the world at what you do, okay? And guess what? Jaden Daniels is going to be a really good player. Great. But don't tell me that he's a better football player than Baker Mayfield, especially right now, and then going against Todd Bowles' defenses and all that kind of stuff. I do a piece, a podcast show in D.C., and I said some of these same things last week in D.C. about this game, and everybody roasted me. I wonder what they're going to say this week.
I think they'll present you with a cape. And
or
also,
Nostradamus hat.
And also, thank you, Coach, for being the only other human being on the planet that still says Washington Redskins.
I'm sorry, Redskins. It'll never ever change for me.
I failed. Todd Bowles said it this past week as well too.
Oh,
They were giving Todd Bowles crap. They're like, this
I
guy,
love it.
especially like the local Tampa fans. They're like, look, we got to get this guy out of here. He doesn't even know who he's playing this week. He thinks he's playing the Washington Redskins, and then you come out and play
Todd
like
and I
that.
go
He's
all
like,
the way back
hey,
to when he
I'll
was
call you
playing.
whatever we want to call you.
know.
Like when we come
all the way back to him.
They have quite a groundswell in and around the District of Columbia to bring the Redskins name
Yeah, they do.
back.
I've seen
the
this.
Fans are really upset.
Yep.
They have hundreds and thousands of signatures.
Yep, I've seen that.
And, the Commanders is, it's like me calling our baseball team the thing that starts with a G. I said, Indians doesn't start with a G. That's an I. And, they'll always be the Cleveland Indians. And the Redskins Cowboys thing, when you're a kid, that was such a majestic matchup, whether it was in Dallas or at old RFK Stadium.
I
And
can
one
tell
last
you
thing.
some tremendous stories about those rivalries.
Oh.
People have no idea about the rivalry between the Redskins and the Cowboys, no doubt.
Someone will have to explain to me. The Redskins helmet is one of the most majestic, beautiful way that you can salute Native Americans and all that. And they said that was horrible. But I don't know, back to hockey. Doesn't the Chicago Blackhawks have a giant Indian guy on the front of their
how about that?
Don't the Florida State Seminoles run out with a flaming arrow and put it in the middle? And all that
No
stuff?
doubt. You got
Okay.
another question? What do we got?
All right, so let's stick with the young quarterback thing because there's nothing. You always, when you're head coach and running stuff, you like to be part of the draft room, the whole thing, because it's your team and you're molding it. What's the cut the cord moment if you're the Carolina Panthers and that very small-sized Bryce Young that they took ahead of C.J. Stroud?
Well, probably the number one thing is that if they don't make some type of adjustment with coaching or whatever it is right there, is you're going to have to make sure that there's no beer in the suites where the owner sits, because he will be throwing them at the fans because the fans are yelling at him again about how he traded up and made them draft him, made coaches and GMs listen to that kind of stuff. So, without that being said, I don't know if I'm going to be on his Christmas card list either.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head there at the end, right there. The real answer is clearly there. It doesn't matter when he would cut the cord or Canales would cut the cord. Like the person running the ship is Tepper, and he's clearly said hey, I'll just change staffs out.
I know,
but this is my guy. We've seen that happen with Dan Snyder. We've seen that happen with the Haslams. We've seen that happen with people before, and it's a production business. So we've already said it before. So at some point in time, you got to produce.
When you compound a mistake by making more of the same mistakes,
that's it.
That's your problem.
Gambler's fallacy.
I have
no doubt
enough evidence, guys, right now to know that Deshaun Watson will never be Deshaun Watson from 2020 in Houston. It's over. The only question is, guys, how many weeks is this going to go on till the fans demand that he sit down? Or, little prediction for you, do they fake an injury and say he's got to sit down?
Well, I can't say one way or the other, but I'm going to tell you this too, is that every single player that steps inside the white lines wants to step inside the white lines with people that are the same way, and watch what happens in between the white lines when the wrong guy's not playing. The wrong guy is playing, is that you'll see the players rebel against it, and there'll be player conversations inside the organization, is that when are we going to drop our testicles and do the right thing?
Yeah, well, I couldn't agree with you more. And by the way, in case we run out of time, thank you for having me. It's a great thrill to be around both of you and all this stuff, and it's a great show. Everybody's watching it. Bally's has got to be going nuts because they know they got a hit show. So thank you again, guys, and I'm worried, Coach and Blake, about Jacksonville. I think they're already taking them too lightly, so God only knows what's going to happen.
I agree with you.
It's going to be
Thank you.
be interesting. But thank you, my man, for joining
My
us. Hope to
pleasure.
have you on some more, here coming up. And hey, thank you, Chuck, for joining us. Hey, stick right with us. When we get back, we're going to finish in the fourth quarter with the 2-minute drill. Thank you for joining us today on Come Get Some. And it's been a great episode, great journey. Hey, I promise you, especially for Cleveland Browns fans, there are better skies, smoother sailing ahead. But talking to that, G-Dub, what would be your main keys to victory for Jacksonville game coming up this week for the Browns?
Run the football, okay? Improve the communication and protections, okay? And stay on time as a quarterback, and then defensively, take the ball away.
Hey, can't be that simple, right?
Can't be as simple.
Hey, we had a great watch party this past weekend. Wanted to talk to you fans out there about that. Hey, we're going to do our next big play watch party in the Burke Lakefront Lounge on the next home game, the 22nd of September against the New York Giants. And we're going to auction or give that off. 25 guests, food and entertainment, will be provided. Go to bigplay.com to enter to win. And it'll be a watch party with G-Dub and I, and you can sit there, watch the game with us, ask any questions. We're going to give you the real, the real. But come on out, sit in our lounge for the next home game, tailgate with us beforehand, and watch the game with us during the game. Go to bigplay.com to enter to win. G-Dub, send us out like you do.
Here we go. Ready, break.
Come get some.